Hi. Okay, so there's some stuff about my first episode pertaining to the growl that I wanted to discuss. There was a bunch of weird stuff going on, so I want to break it down, try and compare it to other animals, and maybe some conjecture on what it was. So I went to that same place last November, I believe, about 6 months ago. It was an encounter that I had found on the Ontario Wildlife Research website, actually on one of their forums, and the administrator of the forum had sent me an attachment that you can load into Google Earth, and it shows all the sightings and a little description of them, and this one was 10 minutes from my house. So I'll pull up a map here of that area. Here we go. So this is the area south and slightly west of St. Thomas. And I came in just to the south of where the Bigfoot sighting is indicated there, parked on the road and walked up through. And you can see at the top, that's where the houses that back onto the trail are located that I mentioned in the video. Okay, so the next one, here we go. So here's a little map of all the things that have happened there, and I'll just do a quick run through of that so you get some backstory. Came up from the bottom, from your view, to the left of that little bald patch there, which is a farmer's field. That comes down the hill. You can see where the tree structures are and where I saw the coyotes last November. And then up from there into those gray trees, that is the ridge, and up to the green part. When I was down with the in the gully there, you can see where the tree structures are. Then you can also see from the north and west of there where I heard the branch snapping and the faint voices. Just above that, you can see where I found the footprint in the video, footprint. And above that, you can see where the original sighting was from the report. And over to the right, well, first I'll show you the trail I took. So this is how I hiked. You can see where I started and where I parked, came up, and then down into the creek bed there where the tree structures and the bridge and I saw the coyotes. Then I went up that hill to the right to where the eagle's nest is. And I was taking pictures of that. You can see my position and where the eagle's nest was I was filming, and then where I saw the growl. And then I looped around and walked along the ridge there, and where we came down in, went to the sighting site, and then back through that pine tree forest. So here's a close-up, my position, and where the eagle's nest is, and where I heard the growl come from, and that was down the ridge. I don't know if it was all the way, but to me it didn't sound like it was all the way down at the bottom. And then I hiked north of that afterwards. Now the coyotes, let's get my pin, see if it'll show up on the thing here. There we go. So when I came down here, this is the top of the ridge and it drops down into the valley there. So when I was about here, I saw some dogs coming over the bridge here. Now, when I got down here, there were no dogs. I assumed it was somebody hiking with a couple of their dogs. And I saw them going this way, south over the bridge. When I got down there, there was no dogs, there was no hiker. And when I got up to the top of the hill, that's as far as I got in November, at the eagle's nest, there was no sign of them anywhere along this trail ahead or out in the field. So my assumption is coyotes, and I think they went back up this way, further up into the creek bed. Now the wood snaps, they were over, so I was standing down here and I was hearing them over here, back in the forest. Now they weren't little twigs or somebody stepping on small branches. It sounded like something thick. It was a big crack. Admittedly, it was extremely windy that day. So, I mean, it could have just been a lot of deadfall coming down. But, yeah, it was loud enough to catch my attention. And also while I was there, I would occasionally on the wind was coming from the northwest, but I would occasionally catch the faint sound of voices. I couldn't tell if they were deep or high. It was just, you know, when you hear voices far away and you can just slightly hear that something's going on, but you can't hear what it is. That's what I was hearing. Could have been anything. The wind, another hiker that I didn't see, but it was coming from the same area where I was hearing that snapping. Now the tree structures, and there's a couple of pretty good shots of them in the original video. They were right here, right next to where the bridge is and on the path. And one was huge and had probably 7 or 8 components to it, large components. The other one next to it, closer to the bridge, maybe only had 3, 4, or 5 components to it. And they're all just leaning together. They're both teepee styles. Again, tons of deadfall in this area. And I guess because of the way the ridge is shaped and it's coming across a field, this might be a funnel zone for the wind coming in there. So that might be why there's so much deadfall. But yeah, interesting that I didn't see any anywhere else, just right there on the path. I'm not saying anything is or isn't, but that's an interesting point to make. Now we've got the sound comparisons. So what I did is I took that clip from the video, and I'll play that right here. You'll have to turn it up a bit in order to hear the growl because it's faint compared to the wind noise on my phone. My phone didn't have any wind screens on it. So I'll play that right now. Okay, there you go. That was low. Kind of freaked me out. Anyway, so here it is again, but I've isolated just the growl, so instead of the whole clip, and I've added some compression so it'll bring down the wind noise a bit, allowing the growl to come up a bit. So I'll play that for you now. Okay, so next what I've done is I took a multiband compressor and compressed the low frequencies, including the wind and everything below the growl, and squashed it down and turned up the frequency range where the growl is, and then I tamed the high as well to get rid of the high points of the wind noise. And then I EQ'd it as well to take off the low end and the extreme high end, and of course turn the whole thing up. So I'll play that for you now. Okay, so there you go. That's what we're going to use to compare it to, because that's the clearest I could get it. Unfortunately, we're dealing with phone microphones and a lot of wind blowing across those phone microphones, but cleared it up pretty good. I basically went through and thought of all of the animals that would growl like that. That would be in southern Ontario. It doesn't mean they are, but any possibility. One that I left off of here was, we have a lot of white-tailed deer and it is rutting season. So I listened to a bunch of stag rutting sounds to see if anything were close, and they weren't close enough. So I'm kind of ruling that out and not even leaving it in there. But the other ones, what I'll do is I'll play the sound clip of the animal that I found, and then I'll play the growl that I experienced right behind it. And then you can hear them. And once you've heard all of them, you can decide which one you might think it's closest to. I just realized my drink thermos is on the table, and ironically, it's a Yeti. Yeah. Anyway, the first one is the sound of a wolverine. So again, I'll play the wolverine, and then I'll play the growl right behind it, okay? Wolverine. Okay, so not exact, close. You never know the circumstance it could be. I've got these in order of the least that I thought it was to probably what I think it is, if not a Sasquatch, which I hope not. You always kind of want to see one. Oh yeah, I want to experience it. And then when something happens where you may have, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to do that anymore. Anyway, so that was Wolverine. Next one is Coyote. I didn't do a sound of coy wolf, which is when wolf and a coyote breed. Then you get that half and half, because I got wolf covered in here as well. So here is the coyote. Now that was a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. I thought coyotes would be higher, but there was a lot of bottom end in that. That could be a candidate. The next one is cougar. Now, there aren't a lot of cougars around here. Probably more likely to be lynx or bobcats. But there have been sightings. And I'll throw the picture in up here. I found, while hiking north of St. Thomas, a large cat print. And it was as big, slightly bigger around than my fist that I put down in it. And it was definitely a cat track because it was an oval shape with no leading toe. And whereas dogs are more like that, triangle shape with a leading toe pointing out. I took the picture of it, and I'll put that up there so you'll see it. I got out of there pretty quick. There was two of them. There's one in the middle of the trail, and then there was one half on, half off the trail going into the grass. And it looked like it was going up a hill from the river. Anyway, so here is the cougar sound and then the growl behind it. Okay, again, good candidate, low growl. The next one I have is a wolf. I've heard of sightings of wolves in this area, but nothing confirmed or official. But technically this is part of their range. So here is the wolf growl with the growl I experienced immediately after. Okay, pretty darn close. Now the last one is black bear. I have an acquaintance who lives maybe a kilometer away, south and west of where this sighting was. And his property is right on the top of the valley that comes down to the creek further south down. He said he's not seen any bears. He's not seen any wolves or cougars. He has seen coyotes. He hasn't seen wolverines. Tons of deer. But technically this is black bear range. Here's the black bear growl and then the growl I experienced right after. Okay, that's the one that I think matches the most close the most closely matched, but it's not exact. But who knows? Variation, mood of the animal. Now, my reaction to the growl, you guys probably obviously don't know me well enough to judge my reactions or my demeanor as to how I'm feeling, but I am very uncomfortable watching myself in that scene where I turn the camera on myself and react to hearing the growl and question if what it could have been. The reason I'm uncomfortable is because I instantly see that I am upset and nervous and confused. So yeah, I hate watching that part. I'll play it right now so you can see it. So I hate Bigfoot blogs that do that. Oh, did you hear that noise? But I heard a growl, a deep one. Now there is a dairy farm over there, but it didn't really sound like a cow. Okay, there you go. So I left immediately after that, heading further north to continue on. Now, there's an interesting thing. While I was filming it and I had the camera on the eagle's nest, I heard the growl. I was thinking about it. And then I actually mentioned it on the camera if it picked it up. However, I didn't look to see. It sounded like it was coming from down there. I didn't look. Who wouldn't look? You hear a growl, you're going to look. But I didn't. And I didn't point the camera down there. I kept the camera on the eagle. I have no idea why. And first thing I'm thinking right now is, if I heard a growl again, I would have looked at, oh my God, what is that? I didn't. And then I was shaken up and you saw that reaction. And when I left, I forgot about it. I did not remember it until I got down to the bottom, all the way through the forest, and then out towards the floodplain where that dairy farm was. And then I mentioned it because I think I compared it to, or tried to compare it to, a cow, which it wasn't. And after that, I completely forgot about it again and continued walking through the woods. Now, a normal reaction would be you hear a growl in the woods. Why would you go back in that area where you heard the growl? I wouldn't do that, but I completely forgot about it. And then driving home as well, until I got home and I watched the video. And then it kind of hit me again. The nervousness. It was weird, man. I can't explain why I forgot about that. It's been on my mind constantly since I shot that video. It was like 2.5 weeks ago. Thinking about that, thinking what it can be. And this is why I'm doing this video, is to compare it. I have no idea why. That's just weird. Now, one thing I thought of was infrasound. It's been said that Sasquatch can emanate infrasound as a defense or aggressive mechanism to try and influence whoever's there or whatever's there, another animal, a person, or whatever. You know, if that's possible, and that growl, could there have been infrasound present in that growl, whether intentional or not intentional, hypothetically, if it was a Sasquatch, to make me leave and not remember so that I wouldn't come back? I'm not saying that's an intentional, I'm going to infrasound him so he doesn't come back. It's just a part of their warning mechanism, and that's a result. Is that possible? Sure. We haven't officially caught one and examined it yet and learned about them, so anything's possible, but that is something that has been discussed in the past as a possibility. Other people have been affected by that, other witnesses. I've seen accounts of that. And what I think is very similar to my reaction. like instantly becoming confused and upset, and then wiping it from my brain until, 45 minutes later, and then an hour and a half later. So it's possible. If you guys have an opinion on that, shoot me a note down in the comments there. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Or if anybody has an experience like that that can corroborate what I'm thinking here, definitely let me know. Okay, so in conclusion, I don't know what it was. The first thing in my mind is that it was probably a black bear. That was the closest I could find. However, there was the original sighting from the report there. There were my experiences in November with branch breaking and distant voices. And then this experience in this video. So I'm not willing to completely brush the whole thing off as coincidence and natural reasons and other animals. It's in the back of my head because there's three things happening there. This might be a bit of a hot spot, and I've kind of fallen into the experience. So that is making me lean slightly towards maybe there's some Sasquatch activity there. But who knows, right? We'll see you later.